Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 208. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, your host for today, as we go through news, some new content, and a bunch of other fun stuff. Joining me to go through all that, you know him, you love him, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
What, fun stuff? This is supposed to be fun?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Man, I didn't know. All this time I thought we were just supposed to argue and gripe and moan and complain about everything.
No.
Or is that just me? Wait, that's just me. Okay, sorry.
That's just you, and occasionally Mr. Zach Sharps and I as well. Zach, can you aim your camera down a little bit?
Yeah.
I think you're
I
there.
just noticed that I can't see the camera. What's up, guys?
That's just Zach and I that argue when it's SWTOR and shit,
right.
Yeah.
SWTOR's on the show notes, isn't it? Oh,
It
and
is,
Galactic
it is.
Command. Yeah, we're in for a good one.
Oh yeah, nobody complains about that.
Yeah, we're in for
Yeah,
a
no
good
one.
one.
No one.
Ooh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Here we go. Let's start with the news. All right, so let's save SWTOR for a little bit later. It's already got my blood boiling. But we've got some news on a few titles here. We got PAX South coming up in just a few days. We're recording on the 26th. You're watching it on the 27th or later. And that's when PAX South starts this Friday, tomorrow, going through the weekend. Mr. Jason Winter, you will be at PAX South checking out some of the stuff and getting back to us on certain topics. One of them, a few companies have teased a few of the things that they'll be talking about or presenting at PAX. And one of them kind of came as a little bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting this. We always expect, like, Nexon to be there with a bunch of stuff. But what they're bringing is some hands-on time with a title called Hyper Universe. Now, to be fair, and full disclosure on my own part, I was not even aware of this title. And it's been in Korea for a while, and we'll get to Zach. You kind of dabble in Korean games, so in a few minutes we'll see if you have any experience or knowledge with the title. Personally, and maybe get your take on this real quick, I really don't go out of my way to play like games that are just overseas or just in Korea. Even like Bless Online and Revelation Online before it had started to come over here, and what else? Black Desert Online. Even like the big marquee titles that I'm aware of and I'm kind of looking at, I don't really just go through the whole rigmarole of VPNing and Korean social security numbers and all that fun stuff. To me, I follow it and I wait for it to come here. If I can get big access to it, or I know like Zach, hey Zach, you got access to Bless, you mind doing a first look so we have the content early for people to look at? Yeah, I get it on the site, but personally, I just don't really have an interest in going through all that. Am I alone? Zach, you seem to do it more often than any of us. What's the draw there for you? Besides, is it just, I want to get my hands on it as early as possible?
It's really only when I'm going through MMO droughts that I usually will like go out of my way to try something. And yeah, and it's also only if it's a really interesting game too. Like I did it with Blade and Soul, played on the Chinese servers a bit, and I really enjoyed that, especially with the English patch and everything. Then I played it on RU. And then eventually when it came over here, I barely even played it because I already played it over in China and also on the Russian servers. And then I ended up playing Bless a little bit because I knew I wanted to play it when it came over here to the West eventually. And that's sort of pretty much it for, as of late. But it's mainly just a draw of I want to sort of check it out to see if I even care to be interested about this game. And if it's easy to get into it, then it's not really a big deal for me. And with Bless, it was pretty easy. I got handed a account to play with, so I was just able to hop in, play it, and see what it was all about. And it's not really that hard to navigate an MMO in a foreign language either, especially if you played as many as I have. So even though it was completely in Korean when I played it, it wasn't that big of a deal. So
yeah, it's just like even titles that I want to play, Jason, I can't be bothered to go through. Like Phantasy Star Online 2 is a perfect example. A game that I would definitely like to play, that I know I could get into. I know there's English patches. I know there's ways around. But it's just, if you're not going to release it here, I don't really feel like going through all that just to play. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, definitely not for me. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't like playing like a regular beta for like a fully American game.
Yeah, it takes.
I don't like that.
It takes pulling teeth to get Jason to play American titles.
Yeah, no kidding, jeez. But yeah, I mean, even something like that, especially when it's something like that I know I'm going to have my progress wiped when I have to start over anyway. It's like I don't have that much of an urge to play some random Korean title that's going to be the same way, and in 6 months it's going to come out here. I have to start over again. So I guess I'm unlike Zach. I always have no problem finding something to play, even if it's an older game or whatever. I'm never that desperate that I just want to go off to do some random Korean thing. Not nowadays with this. I did a little bit maybe back in the day. Yeah, I played 1 or 2 games that were not in Korea. They actually had like a North American localization, crappy as it might have been. But I'd play around with them a little bit. But now with so many games out there, so many free-to-play games, I don't have the urge to feel like I have to rush into something that I'm going to have to rush into. I hate the actual translations that we get with the actual American, with the companies actually do it, much less having to deal with whatever I'm going to have to deal with if I, play in the native Korean or that some fan tried to translate or whatever. So yeah, it's just not a thing for me at all.
Yeah, we all kind of have our fallback free-to-play games.
I
wonder if that should be our next top 5, like our fallback free-to-play MMOs when we're going through a little drought. Go ahead, Zach.
I actually played Phantasy Star Online too, on the Japanese servers, I think it was, and I am very, very sad that game is not out here in the West, because it was pretty fun. It just, I didn't really care to play through it because I thought it was coming over here in the West. Lo and behold, no.
Well,
no.
Sega only teased it a couple of times. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack the conversation there. It's just, there's a lot of people that are like really into that. Even Spunkify, when he was here, him and I had some conversations behind the scenes, and he's not as like gung-ho crazy about doing it, but he will go through all that just to personally play it, even if it has nothing to do with the site. And occasionally did the 4 and Fridays episodes where if he thought something warranted a video and he happened to be in it anyway, put one together. So let us know in the comments below if you're one of those Western gamers that jump into overseas games a lot, or if you're an Eastern gamer jumping into some of the Western stuff. Let us know what's the draw there. Is it just got to be the first one to touch it? Anyway, Hyper Universe coming to the West. PAX South will have hands-on time with it from Nexon. This is a MOBA with a different take on it, of course, because every game's got to have its own unique take, right? Or at least say that they do. But this one, very quickly, you can look at it and see, okay, it's got a totally different take on some MOBA aspect things going on here. First off, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up. Very tongue-in-cheek. A lot of the hypers or the heroes you'll be controlling are, for lack of a better term, rip-off. Inspired by pop culture icons. I mean, you'll see yourself saying, "Is this the Red Power Ranger?" And yes, it is, just not officially. But it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and you'll be playing with 2 hands on a keyboard. That's the control scheme that's designed for it. We wrote it up already, and I put some gameplay in there from a YouTube viewer so that you guys could take a look at it. Very much in the vein of like a Rusty Hearts in a MOBA-type universe. All in all, I don't think you get, unless you've watched a lot of gameplay, you really don't get just by watching snippets, the MOBA feel of what's going on a larger scale. You have to really dig into it to see, okay, so that's how the side-scrolling is working with this multi-tiered level and all of that fun stuff. Looks colorful, looks action-y, but it's just, I gotta say, it's just not for me. I really don't care about the title. I'm hoping one of you guys has a different impression, because this one, while I think, okay, that's kind of neat, it's not doing anything that would really attract my personal attention. So let's start with you, Jason, because I have a feeling you probably are more in the same boat than I am than Zach is. So we'll start with you, Jason.
Oddly, I don't feel myself completely turned off by it. I mean, I like the notion of it. Hey, it's a little different, like you said. It's kind of flashy. It looks like it's got some interesting effects, and even if the characters are a little inspired, maybe I can get behind that a little bit and find something I like in that. What I did kind of balk at, though, again, in the description, and you mentioned it, was the 2 hands on the keyboard thing. Like, I'm really going to have to see how that works, because anything other than keyboard and mouse just seems really odd to me. So that's something I'll definitely want to take a look at when I get down there. But, yeah, it's probably not something I think I'll ever get into a ton, but I'm not just like, oh, man, this is crap, I never want to touch it. I might even be willing to do the first look. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get to play it this weekend, so
I'm probably going to wind up with the first look based on what you said about it. So.
I'm very, well, no, I would definitely play it. It's just I don't know if it's going to grab me because
it's not going to grab me. I know that.
You don't really get a feel for what the game is by the videos. And I just to tag on to your two-handed keyboard thing. I remember playing like NES emulated games where it was just up, down, left, right, select, start, A and B. Two-handed on a keyboard while I waited for my USB NES controller to arrive in the mail, and that was a pain in the ass with
I know. That's why
8 buttons.
I bought a controller for that. Yeah.
I don't know, Zach. What's your take on it?
I mean, I thought it was just a meh-looking game. I mean, I'm not really that intrigued by it. I might end up playing it one day if I'm bored, but I don't really see myself going out of my way to play it. It just doesn't look that intriguing. It kind of reminds me of, I can't remember the name. It starts with an A. It's a side-scroller MOBA.
Awesomnauts?
Awesomauts, there you go. Yeah, it reminds me of that game, but I think it has less of a draw than that game, even. Like, it just doesn't seem... It seems like a cheap version of, what that sort of game was going for, and it just doesn't intrigue me at all, so...
Yeah, and keep in mind, viewers, that our opinions right now are based on very, very limited data available for the Western release. Jason's going to get your hands on it this weekend. That's great. Yep. We'll have some more information there. I think there is something to be had there. I do like a good arcade beat-em-up, side-scrolling hack-and-slashy type thing. And maybe that'll counteract the MOBA portion of it for me enough. We'll have to see when I get my hands on it. So Hyper Universe coming to the West. To be fair, there were a lot of comments on the trailer of a lot of people that have been watching this for a while that are really excited that it's coming to the West. So maybe there's something there that we're just not aware of press-wise yet. On the other side of things, Snail Games starting to deliver on its promise late last year of over a dozen titles being released. But I think they probably should have started with maybe something a little different. and we don't know if this is free-to-play or not. We're going under the assumption that it's going to be free-to-play because it's Snail Games. Of course, we've seen some buy-to-play games thrown into traditionally free-to-play companies lately. So we'll have to wait and see. But Moonlights, taking on the kind of survival H1Z1 type gameplay of zombies, except relegating those zombies to nighttime. So what, like maybe a better example might be Minecraft, right? You're building, or Rust. Yeah, you're building by day.
Castlevania 2.
Yeah, you're building by day. Oh God, what a horrible day, horrible night to have a curse.
I loved that game. I loved that game.
Building by day to survive by night type deal. We'll see. Again, we have some screenshots and things of this one yet, but I kind of feel like maybe Snail Games should have led with something different. If they have a dozen titles, don't show your version of something that already is out as the kickoff to those dozen titles, Zach. I just kind of felt a little underwhelmed by this one.
I don't know. I kind of see it as they're seeing H1Z1 success, and they see that it's a really biggie bug-filled mess, and they're like, well, we can release something to that quality or better. So they're going to try and, take a little bit away from H1Z1, I think, and some of the other survival games as sort of a quick cash-in. And I understand it from a business perspective. That's kind of sort of how Chinese developers work. They sort of just see an idea, they take it, and they run with it and do it within their own sort of way. But I'm not really too intrigued by this game. I just think that, there's not really a high bar to achieve when it comes to these types of games. So they might end up blowing those expectations out of the water just because how low my expectations already are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, I think, a little more than Hyper Universe, simply because I liked the idea of a more PvE-centric H1Z1, yep. And then when it was split off to see the PvE side, for all intents and purposes, abandoned. Yeah, there's been a couple updates here and there, but I think generally speaking, the PvE players of H1Z1 are not happy since the game split into two. So I'm a little more optimistic about this one. Jason, you spent a fair amount of time in H1Z1. Could Snail Games pull you away? It's not really pulling you away because you don't play it anymore.
Yeah.
But can Snail Games pick up where you kind of dropped off H1Z1 because it just didn't satisfy that urge that you wanted?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd give it a fair shake if it actually is something that's produced and isn't buggy as hell and is actually done. But like Zach said, you don't even have to launch these games. I think they're still all in early access. I don't know if any of these zombie survival games have ever actually launched. I think they're still all in early access. So if they can actually get something come down the pipeline and actually make a game out of it, I'll at least give it a fair shake. And I guess the one thing I kind of like about it too is that if there's any one thing, it's that they're doing it in like a Chinese setting.
Yeah.
So it's not like every other zombie game out there with just generic forest and small town kind of thing. That's what they all are. Like it's cosmetic, I know, but at least having something a little different would be nice from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, I like that idea too, and that there are iconic Chinese landmarks and locations in the map. It gives I like the sense of realism in that type of game rather than like a Daisy dropped on a remote island type deal. So we'll keep our eye on it. This one's far away at this point. We probably won't receive too much news on this one until later 2017. But something to look forward to. And Snail Games already starting to tease these dozen or so games they have to release. We'll see.
Are they going to be on the O box?
Oh, God. Yeah, what's the latest on that? I've heard nothing.
I don't think there is no latest.
I think you and I were talking about that behind
like
the scenes
2 years ago or something.
No, well,
yeah.
a couple months ago,
we were
one of
talking about
us,
it. Yeah.
one of us said, "Hey, whatever happened to the O box?" And we couldn't find shit that wasn't like 2013 on it. All right. So speaking of new content, which isn't what we were speaking of at all, that was a terrible segue. They're hit and miss.
It's the first time doing it.
Right. Speaking of new content, which we weren't speaking of at all, you may have noticed that we posted our first episode of Top 5. It is a pilot episode. We want to have a little more fun with these lists. Yes, we could do things like Top 5 fantasy MMORPGs and stuff more traditional like our Top 17 most anticipated games of 2017. But the three of us and the rest of the staff, we wanted to have a little more fun with this and kind of roll with wacky lists and occasionally maybe throw a serious one in there. So we led off with the top 5 game closures, free-to-play game closures that you totally saw coming. And in the list, we included games like Triad Wars and Scarlet Blade and other titles in that ilk. And it's a totally scripted show. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Let us know what you think about it. It's very scripted in that there's more history and trivia-esque type things inside it rather than just some dude's opinion on MMOBomb. So it's just, I liked doing it. We want to do more of it. But I wanted to also get your take, guys, because we had quite a few viewers rightfully chime in saying, throwing their own recommendations up on the should have been on the list. And after seeing some of them, there were one or two that I could have probably been swayed at the time I was writing the script to include. Things like Asta. That's one that somebody brought up and said, yeah, you could have put Asta. Auto Assault on there. What was some of the other ones? The Magicka series. What was that? Wizard Wars?
Magicka Wizard Wars, yep.
Wizard Wars. So I want to know what you guys, we kind of collectively put together the list. We put like 8 titles in there and then just kind of narrowed it down from there. But what other titles on the free-to-play landscape in the last couple of years, more recently, were you just not surprised at all to see close down, Zach?
I would say ELOA. Not free-to-play, but ELOA is, but it closed down initially. I didn't really expect anything different. There wasn't really a lot of buzz about it. When I played it, I didn't really see a lot of people running around. And then as far as just other games that have been prominent on the scene,
I think ELOA was doomed when they didn't stop in Spirit Online.
Yeah, pretty much. And then also not free to play, but we were talking about it for a while. Landmark, I wasn't really surprised to see close, especially after Next shut down. Got canceled. So yeah, I mean, there's been a couple. I think the list sort of hit the nail on the head, and I didn't really see too many that I didn't expect to be there. So
yeah, and on the list itself, I tried to stay away from things that everybody just generally seemed like this is a stupid game, this is a ripped copy paste. I tended to favor a little more on the list games where from the minute public got access to them, a ton of feedback was provided that was just totally ignored, and therefore the game ended up just closing down anyway. So maybe that's why I didn't put things like Asta on the list, when absolutely they rightfully could have been. Jason, some titles that you thought could very well have made that list easily.
I actually didn't watch your video. I only remember us talking about it several months ago. So did you have Dust 514?
I did. It was number 2.
Okay, all right. So that was my best.
Number
guess
1 was
else.
Triad Wars. Number 2 was Dust 542. Number 3 was Scarlet Blade. I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head.
Triad Wars.
Triad Wars, Dust 514, Scarlet Blade, 7 Core, the second time it closed down, not the first. What was number 5? I started the list with... I don't remember. I'd have to look at it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Even you don't remember it. Yeah, I see.
It was...
I mean,
see here.
I pulled up.
I got the video going on right now. What game is this? Oh, I haven't started the list yet. Oh, Infinite Crisis.
Oh, right. I mean, in terms of stuff that it wasn't blatantly obvious. I guess in terms of most blatantly obvious, something people probably didn't pay much attention to was a spin-off of the Warhammer MMORPG called Dark Nexus Arena.
Yeah.
It was like a 6v6 v6 just kind of little thing they did, which didn't have a whole lot to it. It was mostly just kind of like a deathmatch kind of thing. So it didn't even have objectives and so on. I played it a few times just to get a little feel for it. I think I even might have done a video on it. And yeah, you just got the feeling that it was just kind of slapped together, kind of a quick thing. Let's see if we can, get something out of this and make a little more out of it. And yeah, just never
I didn't
never
realize
had any
it was
chance
that
to work out.
Fast. Yeah, I remember Microsoft canceling that one. It went into early access on May 1st, 2015. And was set to launch in 2016, and development ceased on the project. Servers were shut down on March 31st, 2016. So what is that? 8 months after it went into early access, the servers got shut down.
So yeah.
Yes, not bueno. So yeah, let us know first off your feedback on the show, and that's going to relate to the question of the week this week, but also some games maybe you thought should go there. Also, we've taken on a new editorial writer. You may know him from the YouTube comments as Salami Smuggler. Stephen Hawk wrote his first editorial for the site after reaching out, asking if he could come on as a writer. And we started with, I just gave him the assignment of pick a free-to-play topic that you want to talk about, your opinion on. We'll roll with the article, and we'll see what the readers think. If they like your content, then we'll keep going type deal. So I would encourage you to go to MMOBomb.com, click on Steven's editorial, The Power of Simple Grinding in MMORPGs. You'll find right in our banner at the top. And Steven sets forth the idea that grinding in an MMO, while it may be an outdated mechanic, can still be a vital part of MMOs in that they create the sense of camaraderie and social aspect of a bunch of people sitting around doing a menial task and obviously talking and interacting, where if it was all content all the time, you'd tend not to have that type of social dynamic. So first off, let me get your opinion, Zach. Do you agree with Steven's assertion? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with it, because that's pretty much how and why I love MMOs, because even though there are some grindy aspects about them, I always have sort of a core group of friends that I play with. So it's more of a social thing than it is sort of just playing it just because of the game. And that's why I probably burned through so many MMOs, because we all play together, we all get through them together, and it's a fun time throughout the entire experience. And we tend not to stick around more than we sort of intend to, because once we hit like a really big grind wall, we usually just stop and go to the next thing and don't really care too much about grinding to be the best of the best within a particular MMO. So I definitely agree with his assertion, because it's something that I've experienced a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I love MMOs, and one of the reasons why I go through so many MMO phases, because single players don't really offer that to me. It's definitely completely a vacation away from any socialization, that it's really hard for me to sit down and play like a Witcher 3 for 50 plus hours without that. And I love The Witcher 3, but it's even with its expansions, it's like that's just too much time away from just being social. And if you are social during it, then you might miss out on some aspects and be sort of taken out of that world. So that's what I love about MMOs.
Yeah, I come from the Final Fantasy 11. That was like the first MMORPG I really sank a ton of time into, so I don't need to be persuaded that a grind can have its social benefits there, but I really want to get Jason's take on this, because I have a feeling it's not quite going to be along the lines of my thinking. Go ahead, Jason.
First of all, I actually need to make a correction. It was Warhammer Online Wrath of Heroes, not Dark Nexus Arena, that I was thinking of. That was the spin-off to the old MMORPG. That was a different thing, so... Now, as to this article, I went into it thinking, oh my god, what a shitty title. I'm going to flame all over this thing. And I actually kind of didn't. Like, I understood where he was coming from. I totally grasped his notion of that. That's why people like this sort of thing, is for the social aspect of it. And I admit that when I'm more focused on the job, on, during a dungeon or trying to do something, less grindy and more like thought-provoking or whatever, I do tend to ignore kind of the social aspects of stuff, because I just want to get that thing done, as opposed to worrying about, because it consumes my time, consumes my brain power, and I don't talk as much to other people so much when I'm trying to do it, when I'm that focused on a job. I think, though, in modern times, we've gotten to, and this is in part due to how MMOs are done now, as opposed to how it was when Final Fantasy XI was big, or even when I was first playing and I played City of Heroes, in that there isn't as much you need to do now that does require a group. Like Zach said, getting online, chatting with your friends as you're doing stuff with them a lot of the time. I think there are a lot more people that play solo, both because they can and also because they kind of don't necessarily want that level of social interaction all the time with, we've seen how world chat can get sometimes, or zone chat or whatever. So sometimes you'd rather go off and play Witcher 3 for 50 hours instead of having to deal with a lot of that crap. So, I mean, he is right in the sense that I think that having the grind does allow for a bit more of a social interaction, but again, that's not always what people want. They either want to have that more involved and more interesting kind of gameplay, and or don't want to have to interact with the idiots in chat or whatever that they just don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah, and there's also certainly the argument of, it's 2016, aren't we past the grind? Can't we find
2017
some...
even.
Well, yeah, 2017 even. Look at me, see? It's
stuck in the past,
I'm
man.
stuck in the past. 2016, when it was all about grind, and now it shouldn't be. We're in 2017 where, okay, can't we find a different mechanic that isn't this? I think it's funny the way that I perceive grinds differently. Like, I recognize X is a grind, Y is a grind, Z is a grind, but I would rather do X or Z and totally skip Y. And that happens all the time in Final Fantasy XIV, where there are aspects of the Relic, the Zodiac, the Anima weapon quests that I like, even though I know that there's a grind, and then there's other aspects that I'm like, screw it. I am not gonna get this weapon because I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to do that. So there's definitely the overuse mechanic that could really turn some people off. But I thought it was an interesting article, and I honestly probably never would have taken that viewpoint myself to see it. So I wanted to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
And take a look at Steven's article on the website, and please leave comments if you want to see some more editorials from Steven. Before we move over... Oh, go ahead.
I just want to mention, it also really depends on how you define a grind, too. Because when it really comes down to it, like, even with The Witcher 3, I love that game, but like when you go kill a monster, what is that? You're just going to kill a monster. I mean, yes, there's context behind it, but it's still the simple action of go kill X. Or if you need to go talk to someone, go do Y. So it really just depends on what you consider a grind. For me, it's just questing, like a lot of questing I can consider a grind sometimes, or even if just killing monsters I can consider a grind. It depends on how much of something I'm doing and how much stuff is breaking that apart. So...
And it's like pay to win. Everyone has their own definition.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, I played Final Fantasy XI where everything you did back in the days when I played Final Fantasy XI before the modernization of it, everything was a grind. Just getting a party to sit there and farm monsters and level was a grind. So, Before we head on over to the bombs, though, Jason, I'm going to turn this one over to you. You did an interview with BioWare on the SWTOR and Galactic Command and some of the changes and some of the issues and challenges that they've been having with it. Zach and I have already had a well-documented discussion on this that the free-to-play cast viewers still like to watch. So I'm going to turn this over to you. What'd they have to say? What's the update here?
They said we completely screwed up Command XP.
No, they did not.
Not exactly, but they did say that, yeah, they understood that there were some issues, and a lot of people were having issues with many of the things they did. So they went out and tried to fix a lot of them. We talked, at first about and I think where you guys had your big argument was the gold mods being reduced from 10 Command XP down to 1, which they apparently adjusted back up to 2, so they kind of responded to that again. Another thing that I talked about a lot in that one editorial I wrote last month that it seems to keep coming up all the time was about having fixed rewards in your command crates as opposed to just randomly getting stuff every time you get the command level, never knowing if it's going to be useful to you. Now, they did say they had the thing where you could cash it in to get bonus XP toward your next crate, but that just doesn't work as well. It's still not fulfilling when you get that thing and it's useless. So they made a way for you to actually be able to get tokens from those crates that you can use to get the gear you want. So try to reduce the RNG a little bit. That was, another major complaint of the community. And in general, they just said that, it's still a work in progress, still something we're trying to hammer out, trying to get right. And, like I said earlier, it's just like, maybe this is something you should have put in the pressure cooker for a little while longer before you went live with it.
Absolutely.
Get those numbers a little balanced out, either through internal play testing or surveys or whatever you had to do, instead of just trying to jury rig it into a loot system that worked for the vast majority of people for 5 years. So.
Yeah, and they had a snafu recently, too, that they since updated in a patch where one of the uprisings was infinitely easier to farm this experience than the other uprisings, and they did nothing. They just said, we're going to fix it because there are some mechanical issues with it, but you were going to do the uprisings anyway. You were going to farm the uprisings anyway. So that was like, wait a minute, then why did you take out the farming of these monsters? Oh, anyway. Zach, before we go on to the bombs, go ahead. You got a minute or two, because I know you got thoughts on this.
I think we just all agree that they should have kept it sort of in the cooker a little bit longer and not release it raw as they did. One of the things that really irked me about the interview is I think you asked the guy what side of the galaxy are you on or whatever, and he completely just rambled on about PR speak. Yeah. It's like, bro, take a moment just to lighten the mood and have some personality there. That way people think of you as a human rather than a robot. Like, it just seemed so bizarre to me that he didn't offer a response. That he just went on his spiel. So I don't know. It's something that they should just be continually working on, because it obviously wasn't finished when they released it, because they wanted to get it out around the Star Wars movie, which is what we're going to see for the next however long SWTOR is relevant. And we're going to see mistakes like this because of that. I mean, you can't rush out content that's not ready and expect it not to have consequences. But I'm happy they're not punishing players, because that would be the absolute wrong thing to do.
Let's go to the weekly bombs. That was relatively civil.
I was expecting a fist fight. Jeez, guys.
Right. I'm going to go first. I'm going to give a big fat A-bomb to Hearthstone packs and predetermined rarity in general. So if you've missed this one, there was a bit of a snafu with some things over in the Chinese version of Hearthstone, and some stuff had to be rolled back and everything. And as part of the rollback, it was maybe established, there's long Reddit threads about this that you can go and read, that it's pretty much predetermined when you're going to get some of those legendary cards. How did people notice this? They noticed that the 5th pack they opened prior to the rollback contained a legendary, and the 5th pack after the rollback, when they had to reopen their packs, also contained a legendary. It may be a different legendary, a different card, it may be a different series of cards that you had purchased, and so how could this be potentially manipulated? Well, if anybody got a hold of those actual formulas, those algorithms deciding, all right, Jason hasn't gotten a legendary in a while, so 3rd pack from now he's going to get one, well, Jason could maybe skew that a little bit towards purchasing packs of a specific expansion that he wanted a legendary from. So, yeah, and then there was a payout and some other information on a rollback in China. So, but I hate this idea. I hate it. If they're going to be random, make them random. If they're going to be random, make the damn things random. Don't advertise them as random when it's not truly random. So, A-bomb to that. Go ahead, Zach.
I actually couldn't agree less on that, because I got a really awesome Rocket League car model because it was predetermined. The only reason why I bought the crate, the key crates, is because it was predetermined.
No,
so it's just a cash grab.
Yeah, see, you got forced into a cash purchase because you knew.
I got a lot of other awesome stuff too at random.
But you were forced into a purchase. You would not have made that purchase had you not been guaranteed that you were going to get a legendary or a rare or whatever at that particular time.
Because I don't like gambling. I would have never gave them money at all.
Well, exactly.
Maybe they shouldn't have the gamble boxes in the first place.
Oh my God,
that's true. But the game is cheap.
Oh my God, my blood pressure just shot up.
Oh, there we go. No SWTOR argument with
No.
Go ahead, guys.
Go ahead, just give your bomb. Move on.
I'm gonna give a dub bomb to Black Desert Online, which is incredibly weird, I know, but I was researching some of the changes they made recent, and it's basically a lot better than it was at launch. There's a lot of things that they improved, made it a bit more reasonably casual to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, if you want to be the best, it still is going to take time. But the game is a lot more enjoyable now, and it's going to fill in the gap as I wait for Revelation Online. So I'm very happy with it.
Mr. Winter.
It occurs to me that my da-bomb as printed in the document might be a bit of a spoiler. So I'm just going to say da-bomb to our champion of high-low so far, winning 2 out of 3 matches. Going over to the YouTube channel, check out High-Low, the MMOBomb game show, find out who won, who reigned supreme, who's the best MMO trivia master in all the land.
Yeah, congratulations to that handsome devil. From the viewers, the Nico Juju. I'm going to be honest here. I think they should just drop Hero Wars, talking about the Hero Wars game going on pause, and focus on Elsword. But a part of me hopes it'll come back and maybe overshadow it. But dub-bomb over to Paladins for being my favorite shooter right now. Also, Duelist and Shadowverse. Duelist getting some neat little things there with boss modes coming in. They're going to redo challenges, which they needed to be redone, so they're giving a little bit of a different payout in the meantime, the daily challenges. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Neko. Go ahead, Jason.
Hortiz13, looks like talking about Atlas Reactor here. Says, hi, this situation of free for 6 months, then buy for 6 months, then free again. Is there no way of saying to game companies, whatever you chose, free or buy, stay that way for at least 3 years, and then you can change it? Also, with a certain company merging their console game with their 10, is it possible that free-to-play games won't be able to be played on computers unless the gaming company pays a license? P.S. Like the dog.
That would be...
Whose dog?
Mine.
Oh, okay.
Who was in the last episode. She's not here right now. Gizzy's my recently adopted 9-year-old Pekingese. I got her from a shelter. She's a cutie, but she's not on her bed right now. She was last week, though. Go ahead.
Tryon World's also going to be at PAX South, so I'll get a few words from them on Atlas Reactor.
I just realized I'm wearing my Steelers shirt after an embarrassing AFC Championship game.
It's terrible.
Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah. Both NFC, the AFC Championship and NFC Championship game.
The NFL playoffs have been never mind.
Well, the Packers lost, so it was good.
Go ahead.
Ron Harris says, A-bomb to my 50-plus-year-old brain. My 36-year-old brain understood MMOs with ease. Now I'm pushing 55. I just can't seem to take it. EverQuest was hard, but simple to understand. WoW was way too easy and boring. The additions of multiple currencies, collections, and required content to progress are killing MMOs. Just let me play.
You know what? I don't think that's an age thing, because Rift has become stupid complex as far as the currencies go. It's just I as a longtime Rift player, even I'm like, who the hell do I farm these from, and who do I go spend these on? I don't think
Rift
you're
was
alone.
like that in the beginning. I remember in the beginning there were like 15 different currencies or so, and I'm sure it's like 53 or something now.
Yeah, go look at it now. There's a different currency for every damn event anymore. Hydrex Sky Shadow says, "Da bomb to Epic Games for Unreal Tournament. The short story, it's fun, and in the spirit of the old games, it's a very good, fast sci-fi FPS, and it's free, very enjoyable, enjoyably frustrating, and annoyingly fun." So check out Epic Games' Unreal Tournament. Sky Shadow gives it the thumbs up. Go ahead.
All right. Marco Zivkovic says, "Makes no sense to pause an online game," talking about Hero Wars again. "Why not just let people play the current version until they implement the update? Lol, it's weird." I mean, I don't look into it. I don't know how badly broken it is or whatever. But if it is that bad, you think it has to be that bad for them to actually pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, Final Fantasy 14 original bad. So.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. Go ahead.
Nothing could be that bad.
Nothing could be that bad.
Allworth says, "Atlas Reactor is an amazing game. I'd buy it again and again if it wasn't free to play now. I have over 400 hours logged in the game, and I still love it. Try the game for yourself. You won't be let down." I was let down.
Carlos Alejandro replying to the previous comment, "I agree. I played since the first alpha test and bought the Founders Pack as soon as they were available because the game was and is something I enjoy playing and keep coming back to. I also agree that all the monetization changes were BS and that ended up giving the game a bad reputation, but the game is fun. It doesn't feel unbalanced, plus the community is pretty cool too. There's always going to be the elite pros who just rage and shit on everyone when they lose, but in general, the community is pretty decent. The chat is by far the best part of the game." So a little bit of love going around for Atlas Reactor as well.
Kind of surprised by that. With what little I've played, I haven't run into any issues, but I would not be. I would have expected it to be something where people would get really toxic if you push a bad guy out of the way when I'm going to do a big attack on him. It's just. I could see there being a lot of problems there, but all right. If it's coming out, all right.
Question of the week last week, speaking of Atlas Reactor, what does Tryon have to do to capture your attention again? And if you're still a big Tryon fan, what would you like to see them change or improve upon? Epic Burst says, "There's nothing Tryon can do to get my attention again. The most it had was the 5 hours of Trove I've played, and that was more because of Steam than it was of Tryon. Their games are simple flavor-of-the-month titles that are easy to get into and play, but have no value on their own, like Path of Exile or Warframe." And I can't really argue with that lately, though, when you get to things like Atlas Reactor and Trove and titles like that, where it's real easy to get into and play, but I don't stick around. I can't really argue with Epic Burst too much there, Jason.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, I remember when a Trove first came out, like about a month after EverQuest Next was announced. It seemed like just the crappy shadow of it, but now it's the only one left.
Yeah, and then Trove was like right on the heels of Cube World. Remember that?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Deathlock says, "Question of the week: Tryon Worlds never lost my attention. They seem to be the laughing stock of the free-to-play industry at the moment, which sucks because their games are good for the most part. I would love to see Tryon put more work into Defiance. That game has a lot of potential. It's a shame it was abandoned, so to speak, after the show was canceled. I don't know how big the team is working on that game, but I'd like to see them bring it to current-gen consoles. Question of the week for you guys: if you had to pick a combat system from your favorite single-player game and incorporate it into an MMO you play, what would it be? For me, I would love to have Mass Effect's combat in SWTOR."
Good question. Deathlock Defiance is not coming to consoles. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. Defiance was another one. And, like, I'm a Tryon apologist in I point out their flaws, but I still play, like, Rift and all that crap. Yeah. Defiance is one that I think both Jason and I were like, there is something here. They just haven't done enough with it.
Yeah.
So, question of the week, I'd probably go with, I'd stick with Final Fantasy XIV just because it's my current game of choice and has been for quite some time now since launch. Got my pre-order for my collector's edition in. And it'd be really badass, I think, to have a Bayonetta-style combat in that. That would be, woo. Could you imagine everybody flipping around and that'd be beautiful. It'd be a thing of beauty.
It'd be chaotic.
It would, but it'd be beautiful. Raids, trials would be amazing. Go ahead, Zach. What do you think as far as Deathlock's question?
I don't know. I kind of agree with him that the sort of action-y combat of Mass Effect would be amazing in Star Wars: The Old Republic, because as much as I like what they're doing in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the combat and sort of the dated feel of the game kind of holds me back from playing just more than the story right now. So yeah, that would be amazing.
Mr. Winter?
I don't know about combat, but I'd love to see a Portal game in an MMO, Portal style of stuff.
Oh, like the puzzle stuff?
Well, the portals themselves.
Oh,
Being able to use those.
Oh, yeah, well, you kind of see that a little bit. I mean, World of Warcraft's Warlock has that teleport ability to predetermined spots that they drop on the map.
Some games have teleports, sure, but yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that would be kind of nifty, too. Tepic11 spent time writing a perfectly reasonable and properly written comment on the question of the week on your site, and it was deleted by a moderator for no apparent reason. I think you should treat viewers more respectfully when they take time to contribute. Okay, Tepic, nobody was mean to you. Nobody deleted your comment. Your comment went to auto-moderation. There's a couple ways that's triggered. In your case, it was because you included a URL in the comment, and so it automatically triggers moderation. The person that normally does our moderation is in the process of moving right now, so a few days later, your comment was approved and posted after your link to Steam charts was reviewed. So, sorry if it took a couple days. On your side, it should have said this comment is awaiting moderation so that you knew it was always there. Tepic's comment from the site. I'm completely with Zach on Tryon. Atlas Reactor went free-to-play because of this. And this is where Tepic linked the Steam charts for Atlas Reactor, which show the game kind of not doing very well. It's clearly a dying game, just like Devilian, which is an even worse state. They milked it with Founders Packs, as they always do, milked what they could with buy-to-play, then threw in free-to-play as the last resort to squeeze out whatever's left in it. I won't touch any game from them, as they will lie to and screw over customers at every opportunity if it means a tiny profit, and they have pounced onto just about every one of the most exploitative aspects of the free-to-play market. On top of that, they're completely incompetent as a publisher, as the completely avoidable disasters we hear about every week demonstrate. And you know what? I would love to tell Tepic he's wrong or she's wrong, but I can't. Once again, even as a Tryon apologist to a certain extent, I got to acknowledge real life that there is just that, even if it's not true internally, there is that perception of milking customers, particularly with what you did with Atlas Reactor at this point. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jason.
First of all, we skipped a comment just before that. Was that intentional?
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, take Hellsworth. I'm sorry.
All right. Hellsworth says, I for one would like to see Tryon not making cheesy milking moves on players every time one looks around. I'd like to see them take a steady upfront monetization path for their games because, one can never know if a labor replenishing bathtub will cost $100 in a random MMO, or certain buy-to-plays will go free-to-play after people making seemingly pointless purchases, or even if after 4 years in free-to-play they suddenly start charging for expansions with no options for in-game purchases. It's kind of sad. It makes people not want to play the games. Now, last point, it seems a little odd because it wasn't Rift. They did charge for. I think he's talking about Rift. They did charge for piecemeal parts of the last expansion. Everybody hated it, so they said we're just charging one upfront price for the whole thing, and people tended to love that, I thought. So.
Yeah, but there was still that perception of, hey, we got the last one for free. Why aren't you giving us this one for free?
Because you didn't get it for free because they still charge you for all the stuff.
And I think the overall point is certainly valid. Pick one, stick with it. It's this back and forth that makes it seem like, Jesus, with every title, you're just trying to milk as much money out of it as possible rather than balancing the need to make money versus keep a player base happy. Go ahead, Zach.
If there was a Tron movie, it'd be pick one, stick with it. that would be their documentary. John Holt says, Tron, it feels like you can't decide what's for dinner, and anything you will have leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
I love that comment. Zaberfang X, I have to agree with Tryon leadership. They can't get their things together. It feels like my old days of World of Warcraft when Blizzard had no idea how to fix the Paladin class, and after it took them about 5 years to give the class a fair tank/DPS role, and that's just one part of the problems in the past with Blizzard. Back to Atlas Reactor. If anything, I will see Tryon will try to sell a new pack for Atlas Reactor, and that right there will tell Tryon if they want to give up or keep going once they see the sales for the game going up, just to keep it alive. Finish it up, Jason.
James Esparza says, I really want to like Tryon Worlds. I even spelled their name with a capital letter. Good for you, James. But I'm not sure there's much they can do right now. They seem to be the M. Night Shyamalan of MMOs. Did not spell that with capital letters. I think he pointed that out, not me, just so you know. I think if they just took a moment to acknowledge that they made some bad moves in the past and maybe addressed an apology to their longtime fans and at least said they would try to take it back to their golden age, that would at least win them some brownie points in my book. Let's face it, not going to happen. I think that's wrong. I think they apologize on ArcAge about every other week. Every time they screw something new up. Yeah, we're sorry. Here's our compensation package.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. You pointed out, Jason, we kind of felt bad we did an article on like the top news stories of 2016, and we kind of lumped all of ArcAge's problems for the entire year into a piece. And we kind of felt bad. It was like, oh, we're beating up on them a little bit. But then we saw other sites that, damn, they post
an entire page.
There's an entire page on Massively OP that is just a link to all of ArcAge's blunders for the entire year.
The actual title of the page is ArcAge Mess Roundup.
Yep, so Massively OP doing the same thing. Question of the week for this week. What's a fun top 5 you'd like to see us cover? Told you would come back to that. Yeah, we can do traditional lists, but quite frankly, we would have a little bit more fun making them. So if you think it's a crazy list, it might just be exactly what we're looking for. So put it in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs. D-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad in the world of gaming, or your questions for the panelists here. Jason, did all of your lights like just go out all of a sudden?
I think one of my lights back there burned out, and I forgot to turn on my top light here to give me frontal illumination.
Zach, until next week, darkness. Where can everybody find you?
Aaron can find me on Twitter at ZachSharps.
Easy enough. Emperor Palpatine, where can everybody find you?
You can find me in the Imperial Senate chambers or on Twitter at Winter Informal and streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Yes, let the hate flow through you. I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMAN1. Of course, while you're there, you should be following at MMOBomb so that you're tweeted with all the latest articles, videos, shows, giveaways, editorials, and interviews. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.